Hello healers and health seekers. It's me, Ichota, healing with medical medium information for 35 months now. If you want to know what I'm healing from, links are in the description box below that will tell you. It's time for What's Up Wednesday. I am filming this on what I think is a Friday. It's been a while since I've posted a What's Up Wednesday on a Wednesday, but I'm still gonna call them that because what they are is, so consistently my What's Up Wednesdays are a time when I come and I do a video about my healing journey and what's been going on with me. Because I am in the RV, I am so off of my routine and schedule and everything. It has been very difficult for me to make a video consistently on the day when I usually would have shot videos at home in the apartment. So I just have to shoot them when I can and still call them What's Up Wednesdays. Forgive me for the inconsistency. I'm doing my best here. The RV is so tricksy. It's so tricksy because it's a smaller space and there are all these different sort of factors, like the air conditioner makes a really lot of noise. The IQ air filter, when it's running, you can hear it running now, makes some noise. We've had to run the air conditioner a lot lately because it's been really super hot. When it's really super hot outside, I can't really shoot outside, and I found that I did make a video outside, and while it's beautiful and gorgeous, I don't have a microphone that suits being outside, and so you get all that wind sound, and that's really unpleasant to me anyway. And so I don't want to do that. So shooting outside hasn't really worked. Because even when it's like really hot, when you're over by the trees where it's nice and shady, it's breezy. And if I'm not where it's nice and shady, even when I am where it's nice and shady, I squint into the camera because it's just bright. And if I'm not in that, I'll just get sunburned. Anyway, it just isn't, there's so many things. Right now I'm lucky because everybody's asleep, and so I got to be in the main part of the RV in the kitchen by myself this morning, and we'll see how long that lasts. Hopefully long enough to shoot this video. But that doesn't happen often because, like I said, again, my schedule completely thrown off. Like, I have not had a regular sleep time or a regular wake time, and it is just all over the place. And so I've been so tired a lot, and it's just throwing off my energy levels. It's just whatever. It's not good. I am making the best of it, and I'm doing my best with it, and it's a struggle. It's a struggle. I really look forward to being in a house again, or yeah, just someplace that I can have a regular routine and not feel so completely thrown off like I am in the RV. Okay. I have been doing some things consistently, and that has been my mornings. My mornings have been fairly consistent, at least not in the time that I'm waking up or anything like that, but in the time that in the foods that I'm consuming. So always in the morning, every morning, I have 32 ounces of honey lemon water, and then a half an hour later I have 32 ounces of celery juice. And usually a half an hour after that I will have my heavy metal detox smoothie. But because it is melon season, I will now, before my heavy metal detox smoothie, I will have 32 ounces of watermelon blended with lime in the Vitamix. So it's like a juice. I mean, there's fiber in it because I just blend it, but it's kind of like a juice. You know, watermelon's mostly water. It's delicious, and it's so great for my body. And honestly, my skin, I've been eating so much papaya lately. I eat papaya whenever I can get it. I've got some beautiful papayas ripening on the counter right now. I have 10 of them ripening on the counter right now. I've been eating so much papaya lately, and it actually has been doing wonders for my skin, which it's like every time I make a video, I'll have some kind of something where it'll come out, and sometimes the papaya and asparagus will bring it out. This red, my rosacea, and sometimes I will have a reaction that's bringing it out. Today it's a reaction. Yesterday we went and looked at houses. We've been looking at houses in the area we're in right now, and it's hard for a chemically sensitive human to do something like look at houses, I gotta say. Now, on the plus side of this, I have been healing so much that I can do this and I can look at houses. And I do have some recovery time, but it's pretty quick and I'm usually pretty okay, and it doesn't like completely take me out. So the great news is, and the victory check is, I can do that. I can look at houses. On the journey of healing, Anthony William always says 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, and I am in right now the 2 steps back, which in a way is kind of amazing for me to say that, because even at 2 steps back, I'm still pretty fully functional for, you know, my new normal. Like, I'm pretty fully functional, and that's kind of amazing that my new normal and this being my 2 steps back, I'm still doing pretty friggin' good, because I can still go look at houses and I can still like go out and go to the grocery store and things like that and prepare all the food and whatever. But at the same time, I am in the 2 steps back because I am having a strep flare, and that is bringing up acne. In addition to my rosacea, it's bringing up acne, and it is causing some urinary issues, like frequent and urgency and stuff like that. Although sometimes it's hard to know if the frequency is a kind of frequency that is normal for me, because I'm so hydrated and so therefore I have to pee like every half hour to 45 minutes, or if it's that, though that's like a strep symptom. And so basically I just base it on other things. So other things are strep symptoms, and so I think, okay, probably this level of frequency and the urgency about it is strep symptoms, because I know those to be my strep symptoms, some of them. So those are coming up, and then I've had more congestion in my nose lately in the mornings, and I keep having to stop talking and clear my throat because of the phlegm, and that's a strep thing. So I've been having those symptoms going on, and then I've been having a little bit of my shingles symptoms come up because I've had the itching. I've had itching in my back and I've had itching in my feet. And where I get my itching in my feet is not like on the bottom of my feet, it's in my toes, which is so weird, but it's what happens. And then I hadn't realized it, but the plantar fasciitis that was in my foot had not been giving me really any issues, and then it suddenly has started again. So I'm like, oh, come on. So, you know, lovely. But even in this flare, it's like I've been okay enough to go do things, and that's pretty impressive. So yesterday we went and looked at houses, and we only went and looked at 2 houses, but the day before we had gone and looked at, well, we had 5 houses on the list the day before. Like I said, chemically sensitive person, and here's the thing. Medical medium has said, if you're chemically sensitive and if you have multiple chemical sensitivity, you can heal, and you'll always have that sensitivity to a certain degree. And he said that's a good thing, because you should be sensitive. You want to be aware and sensitive to those chemicals, because they are not good for you. Like, they are toxic, and having that awareness all the time is actually not a bad thing, because it helps you in life. It helps you avoid potential toxins to your liver, and helps people around you avoid it, because you're gonna let them know. So definitely my chemical sensitivity has healed to a great degree. It really, really has. Because I can now go into places that I just would not have even been able, like 2 years ago, there's no way I could have done this. 3 years ago, I couldn't have even left the house. But 2 years ago, I still couldn't have done like looking at others' houses. It just would have been too much for me to be going out to place after place after place. And my recovery time would have been just exponential. It would have been like weeks. Now, so we had 5 places scheduled the first day, and I was able to go into one of them. Of the 5 places, we went into the first one, and it was fantastic that I could go in And we really liked the house, but it was just way too big for us. We know what we're capable of taking care of at this point, and it is not like this house was so big. It was beautiful though. It was really nice, and honestly, I'm like, oh, just the fact that I could be in there and there were no scents whatsoever, which is so tricksy when you have other people living somewhere before you. That was amazing. And just the layout and the kitchen and everything was really beautiful, but just too big, too much for us to take care of. So not a possibility for us. But yeah, and then the next house, one of them they had just professionally cleaned the carpets, which means really strong chemicals. I can't do that. So I couldn't go in. And another one had, plug-in air fresheners, and I couldn't go into that one. And oh no, one of them smelled like look, when I say this, I want to say I grew up in poverty, and this is not what my house smelled like, but when my mom first moved us from Concord, New Hampshire to St. Louis, Missouri, when I was 6, I was with like overnight babysitters. She was working 2 jobs. I almost never saw her. It was really an incredibly stressful, jarring experience for me. And the overnight babysitter's house had this smell in it that was like, I now sort of associate with poverty, but like in a different way than I grew up in poverty. I don't know how to explain that, but like a sort of like a desperate, like, it was the smell of like stale air and cooked meat and just like stagnancy. I don't, it was bad. It was, there's this smell, and I have smelled it in other homes throughout the years, and anyway, one of the homes smelled like that, and I'm like, I don't know what to call that smell, except for, in my mind, it's associated with childhood trauma. And scent is one of the most powerful memories, right? Which is why so many companies use all these fake scents to try to trick your brain into thinking you're having a better time than you are. Target uses scent in their air to sell you more products, and Disneyland and Universal Studios both use scents in all their different zones in their amusement parks to enhance the memory of your experience there, so that you think you're having a better time than you are. For me, it's a freaking nightmare, and I will not go to those places because it's horrifying and it's so toxic. Anyway, even if you're not chemically sensitive, it's so toxic for your liver. It is not a good thing. It's awful that they do stuff like that. But anyway, scent is like a really strong memory anchor. So that scent, forget it. For me, it's like, it's not toxic to me as far as chemicals, but it's toxic to me as far as triggering childhood trauma. And I would never, I don't even want to go in a house that smells like that. Like, it's interesting because it is a smell I've smelled in several houses over the years, and yeah, it's just this, no. So we couldn't go into 4 of the houses of the 5 that we had booked, and that's fine. It's just, it narrows it down. It's like, okay, X that off the list and whatever. Oh, and if there's new houses that have fresh paint or brand new, and I know this is a selling point for a lot of people when they're trying to sell a house, where they're like, fresh paint all throughout, fresh carpet, brand new flooring. But for me, that is a nightmare, because all of those things off-gas for up to 3 years into your indoor air. So when it says new paint, new carpet, new flooring, that means new, fresh, toxic chemicals that you can breathe in for the next 3 years of your life, poisoning yourself and intoxicating your liver and making your liver sluggish and slow. No, thank you. And chemically, my reactions, I can't even go into those houses. It is hard for me to go into a house with a wood stove or a wood fireplace, because the smoke will, depending, if it has good ventilation, it can be fine, but the smoke, I can't tolerate the smoke. And forget about going into the house of a smoker. Come on. Like, people should know better at this point. Don't smoke in your house. You'll never be able to sell it. I guess except to another smoker who won't notice. So despite us not being able to go into like 4 of the houses the first day, it was still kind of a big, exhausting day. Now, and I started to get a headache toward the end of it. But as soon as we came back to the RV and I just ate a bunch of food, like so many potatoes, I was fine. I just needed to sort of rest and decompress in my comfortable space. So I was ready to go the next day. I was like, okay, I can do this again, which is great. Oh my gosh. In the past, like I said, a couple years ago, the recovery time for that would have been like a week or more, you know? It would have been a long time. That would have just taken it out of me. And while I was a little tired, as soon as I got back to the RV, I was fine. And like I said, ate a bunch of potatoes. I don't know what it is. No, I do know what it is. So when it's like we're out, whenever we leave and we go out, like I'm processing more. It's more of a sensory overload, and there's more for my brain to process. So I burn more glucose faster and mineral salts, and I need those fast more. I need to replenish the glucose and mineral salts because my brain's like, whoa. So yesterday we go to look at houses. And it's interesting because I was feeling really sharp and I was like, boy, I feel really good. And like my brain was really sharp, no brain fog, and my memory was really good. And I'll just be honest, that doesn't happen a lot. So I was really thrilled with and noticing like, oh wow, I'm really like, this is great. I'm feeling really good. So we only had 3 houses on our list. One of them went under contract, so it got knocked off the list really fast. And then there were these other 2 houses, and that's okay because they were 2 houses that I was quite interested in. However, the first one, we walked in and immediately I'm like, I smell cigarette smoke. And the realtor, now here, this is interesting. So my chemical sensitivity makes me almost a literal bloodhound. It's crazy. I can smell anything, and I can identify what it is. It's like a weird superpower that I have, okay? Where other people are like, I don't smell it. So we walk in, and my husband, because he lives with me and has to be aware of chemicals because of me, we walked in and he was like, what's that smell? And he couldn't identify it, and I said, it's cigarette smoke. I said, I smell cigarette smoke. And the realtor's like, no, my eyes burn when there's cigarette smoke. She's like, I can't tolerate it either. And she's like, I'm not having burning eyes. And I'm like, no, it's cigarette smoke. So it was kind of faint. So sort of, not for me, really. But it was like I could sort of walk through the house because I was still, because they had doubt, it was making me think like, maybe it's not, but I'm pretty sure it is. So we kind of walk through, and then I go out onto the screened-in porch, and there is an ashtray with a cigarette burnt down sitting in it. And I was like, yeah, okay, I thought so. And it's possible, maybe, that the reason it didn't smell so strongly in the house is that maybe they didn't smoke in the house, but they smoked out on that screen porch, which was literally right outside the house, and smoke comes through anything that has any kind of a... I can smell smoke. If it's right outside, it's like horrible. And I thought, well, maybe they don't smoke in the house, right? But then we go to like other parts of the house and it smelled like that like throughout, and then we went in the basement and it smelled like that in the basement. I'm like, obviously they smoke down here. And then like as we're kind of looking in closets, because that's what you do when you're looking through a house. Unfortunately, this house was like, it was still owner occupied, which I don't really like looking at people's houses when they're owner occupied, because it's like all their stuff is in it, all their pictures are on the wall, so it's really like you're walking through somebody else's house. How can I see myself in this house if I'm walking through your house? It's weird, but whatever, that's how people sell houses sometimes. Anyway, and we look in a closet and it's like, yeah, well, there's 2 cartons of cigarettes, and I was like, see? And then like when we went outside of that house, like on the deck, they had freshly painted the outside, but like really freshly painted, and I could still smell the paint fumes. That house would have been great if they hadn't smoked in it, but whatever, it wasn't our house, obviously. And then the second house we went to, as soon as we walked in, I was like, I smell butane. Why do I, that's a weird smell to smell inside of a house. And then as we walked through, it's like, it was everywhere though. Like I thought, why is it just in the kitchen? Because if it's butane or something like that, like maybe somebody had done a barbecue and I was smelling like residual butane from that. But as we walked through the whole entire house, like up and down, it still smelled like that everywhere. And then we realized that somebody had shellacked, like freshly shellacked a table in the garage. Like, what are you doing? And so the whole, I was like, no, it was solvents. It was solvents. I guess it wasn't butane, but it did really smell like butane, but it's still a solvent. And that takes it off the list. It's like, I don't know if this is a one-time thing, but you couldn't air out the house. Like, obviously, it's weird because if you could air out the house, that smell wouldn't have been like also in the basement, and it was weird. So cigarette smoke and solvents, like, whoa. And it took me out. I'm amazed I could actually go in that house, which was really weird. I shouldn't have been able to, really. I don't think. I shouldn't have. I should just end the sentence there. I shouldn't have gone into that house because, whew, it brought some stuff out of my skin for that's like a reaction. And I was so out of it when we got back. Like, I was like, I couldn't even keep my eyes open or stay awake. I couldn't think. I couldn't anything. And I ended up sort of dozing off. It was late enough in the day that I didn't want to take a nap because then it would just really cut into my sleep time. But I could not keep my eyes open. So I ended up sort of dozing off anyway while I was trying to stay awake. So I'm like, let me just stay awake. So I'll go to bed at 8. And I did. I went to bed so early. That's why I'm up before everybody today. So, to make a long story long, the reason I'm telling like all these details is just, it's because it's part of the healing journey. It's because it's part of like, okay, so this is what happens to me as a chemically sensitive person. And even though I have done a lot of healing, and look, you know, like today I'm physically feeling okay again. I'm a little sleepy, but I think probably I just need to drink some celery juice. I'm only having still my lemon water. And I've been talking for a long time, so I need to drink my celery juice. And again, when I came back yesterday, I ate so many potatoes. I mean, I ate so many potatoes. I had a bowl of like 3 full-size like russets. We'll call them medium-sized potatoes. So I had a bowl of like 3 medium-sized potatoes, and I have this homemade ketchup that I made that I had with those. I just kind of like, sometimes I just eat them plain, or maybe with like a little salt. And I'll just eat the potatoes plain, and then I'll dip like the parts with the skins in the ketchup, and that's what I did. And then I had a second bowl of potatoes a little while later, and I had the other 3, but those were smaller ones. But that's a lot of potatoes. And with those I had sliced grape tomatoes and mango, which sounds weird, but it actually was really quite tasty. And that's what I had with those. And then I just kind of passed out. Well, I ate the first bowl of potatoes, and that's when I dozed off after that. And then I woke up, ate more potatoes, and then I went to bed not too long after that. So yeah, but my mornings have been very, very hydrating mornings. And before all that happened, my skin was actually clearing up, and I was like, oh my gosh, are we gonna see my skin clear up? But then I'm like, oh no, not if I go out in the world and find things to react to. It's tricky because we're in the Midwest, which is a tricky part of the country anyway, because I'll be honest, people don't they don't have in general as healthy of lifestyles here as like say the West Coast. So you get houses where it's smoking and a lot of chemical use, because it's like there's not as much of an awareness of how toxic it can be here. So it's tricky. It's tricky to find houses we can even go into, but we're narrowing it down. And right now we have looked at every house on the market that meets our criteria, and we've only been able to go into like 3 of them total. So I figure maybe our house just isn't on the market yet because we just have been having that kind of a difficulty with them. So yeah, that's where I am now. I will say I am hopeful that there will be a house listed at the exact right time, and maybe I'm wrong about this being the correct area for us, and maybe we are meant to be in the city. I hope not, honestly, because I kind of hate the city. So I guess we'll see. So, you know, my husband had this job interview, and we're just waiting to hear back from them. It'll be maybe another week and a half before we hear back or something like that. So right now we're just in this waiting game, and that makes things also stressful because we're like, please don't keep us in this RV when it starts to really get hot in the summer, because that's going to be brutal for us. This RV doesn't do heat well. It's a big tin can, really. It's just like, it's a heat conductor. So we're just hoping that we will be in a house by then, and then I could get some kind of routine going, and that would be really good. So my question for you is, if you are chemically sensitive or have any kind of particular sensitivities that you've maybe been on the journey a little bit, or maybe you're new to the journey, what are some things that you've noticed about your sensitivity and learned about your sensitivity? Because I have learned that it's interesting, because I really can tell by checking into my body what I am sensitive to, and what it's kind of like, oh, I can sort of get away with this, so I can kind of go in here and I'll sort of be okay. I'll have a recovery time maybe, but it'll be quick now. And it doesn't worry me so much anymore, because I know exactly what's happening in the body and I know what it'll do. So I don't go into a panic if there's an environment. But I also have definitely learned boundaries. Like, I'm not worried about offending other people anymore. I let them know, like, this is how it is for me. And I don't worry about, like, oh, I'm not going to say anything and I'll just expose myself to something that's toxic because I don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. I'll just be like, no, this is how it is. And I just let people know in advance. I told the realtor, like, I am chemically sensitive. There will be houses that I will walk up to the door, smell, and no, I can't go in there because it'll hurt me or cause me to have a reaction. And she's fine with that. Like, she's like, okay. So she knows when we walk up to the door and I'm like, nope, can't do that one. I can't even go in there. And then we just move on to the next one. And she's been really great about that. But I don't feel guilt about it. I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel like, oh, I'm putting somebody out, or, oh, this is embarrassing, or anything like that. It's like, no, this is part of my life and this is what it is. And I have this chemical sensitivity. And even if people don't understand it, you just find the people who will. Like, I wouldn't be working with a realtor who was like, what? I can't cope with that or something. I just tell a realtor up front, like, okay, I have this chemical sensitivity. Here's what it looks like. Here's the things that I react to. And can you work with that? And they say, yeah. So I have just found, like, I'm comfortable with my boundaries. I'm comfortable with what it is and saying what it is. And I don't feel embarrassed about it. And that's helpful. Like, that's helpful for me. And I'm also, I know, okay, I went out and I did some things and it's gonna set me back a little. I'm gonna have some recovery time. But I also know how to support myself in recovery. Like, I know the foods that are gonna support me best, and I know to keep hydrated, and that all helps. It all helps, and it all helps my recovery time. And I also know, like, today, because we went out 2 days in a row, I'm gonna need a down day. I'm gonna need to not go out and do anything. I'm gonna need to just rest, and that's okay. Like, that's fine too. So I would like to know, you know, what have you discovered for yourself about your sensitivities or your needs around your health? I mean, I feel like that's an important part of the healing process, and that's a way that I've grown in this process, is being able to just be like, okay with what my needs are and stating them to people. And I feel like that's been very helpful to me growing in that way, and seeing that about myself and realizing, like, oh yeah, okay, that's okay. It's okay. And I think also Anthony saying, like, you know, you're gonna just keep being chemically aware, and you're gonna have that sensitivity, but it's okay, it's a good thing. And I was like, yeah, I'm the canary in the coal mine. And so I will tell people that. I'm like, I'm the canary in the coal mine. I'm the bloodhound. You don't smell it, but I do. It's there, you know? And I'm like the alert system. So thank you so much for watching this video, my healers and health seekers. Thank you for coming along on my healing journey. I love you so much. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up below. It really helps the channel. You can subscribe to my channel by hitting that subscribe button right there. You can ding the bell next to it if you want to be notified when I post a new video. As always, stay curious, my healers and health seekers. Know that you can heal. I love you. Blessings on your continued healing journey, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.